local elections that could reshape national politics. India's Hindu nationalist BJP sweeps West Bengal, a state governed by the opposition for decades and long seen as a symbol of secularism. What does this mean for democracy in India and for its 200 million Muslims? This is Inside Story. Hello, I'm Mohammed Jamjoom. For nearly 5 decades, India's West Bengal state was governed by opposition parties. First by the communists, and then, for the past 15 years, by the centrist Trinamool Congress. But at the weekend, the governing Bharatiya Janata Party swept to victory in the state assembly polls, riding on an anti-corruption and good governance platform. Critics say a highly polarized campaign and a controversial revision of the electoral roll, which stripped millions of people of their right to vote, also helped its landslide win. The BJP now controls 20 of India's 28 states. What does this mean for India's democracy in the face of a dwindling opposition? And what message does it send to the country's Muslim population? We'll discuss these issues with our guests, but first, this report by Ferdia Carr.
Wearing the trademark saffron orange of India's governing Bharatiya Janata Party, supporters in West Bengal celebrate a landslide victory. The BJP's triumph here is seen as a turning point in a state long considered a beacon of secularism. It brings to an end 15 years of governance by the All India Trinamool Congress, or TMC, led by outgoing Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee. She formed the movement in a breakaway from the Indian National Congress and defeated West Bengal's once powerful Communist Party in 2011. But economic stagnation, allegations of corruption and frustration with the decline in public safety appear to have prompted many to turn their back on her party.
The BJP has received this mandate because of Banerjee's performance in the past 15 years. Some TMC voters went to the BJP, otherwise this margin of victory would not be possible. People were unhappy with the BJP as well as with Trinamool, and they still chose BJP.
The BJP leader in West Bengal, Yogendra Adhikari, was once a senior opposition figure. He left TMC in 2020 and has since embraced the governing party's Hindu nationalism.
Banerjee lost Nandagram in 2021. She lost this time as well by 15,000 votes. Muslims voted for Banerjee in large numbers. In Ward 77, every Muslim voted for her, and all the Hindus, Sikhs, Jains, Buddhists blessed me. And because of that, I emerged victorious. This win is for Hindu nationalism.
The opposition has accused the BJP leadership, all the way up to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, of running a dirty campaign, in part because 9 million names were removed from the voter registry in West Bengal. The government says the revision was necessary to remove duplication and update the list. But critics say minorities, particularly Muslims who make up 27% of the state's population, were disproportionately affected.
We didn't lose the election. It is their forceful attempt to defeat us. Officially, they may, through election commission, can defeat us. But morally, I am telling you that we won the election. We fought against the all machinery, where Prime Minister and Home Minister is also involved. Directly interference.
The vote was also marred by violence, with both major parties trading blame for attacks on their offices and supporters. The BJP's victory in West Bengal won't affect the balance of power in the national parliament, but it's seen as a milestone in the Nationalist Party's growing dominance across India. Ferdia Carr, Al Jazeera for Inside Story.
All right, let's go ahead and bring in our guests. From New Delhi, we're joined by Javed Ansari, a political commentator and senior journalist who's covered elections in India for more than 30 years. Shaina NC is in Mumbai. She's the national spokesperson for Shiv Sena, a conservative party. She previously held several roles with the governing BJP. And also in New Delhi is Yogendra Yadav, co-founder of the Swaraj India Political Party and a civil society activist. A warm welcome to you all, and thanks so much for joining us today on Inside Story. Shaina, let me start with you today. As we heard in that report that we just played from Ferdia Carr, aside from the fact that this was a landslide victory by BJP, the opposition has accused BJP leadership of running a dirty campaign. Part of the reason for that is because 9 million names were removed from the voter registry in West Bengal. The government says that the revision was necessary to remove duplication and to update the list, but critics say minorities were disproportionately affected. First of all, what's your response to that? Secondly, what reasons would you give for the massive victory by BJP?
Firstly, this was a historic mandate. Never before have you seen 92.4% people come out and vote. This was absolutely a referendum against Mamata Banerjee. She can continue to play this false narrative victim card, but do understand that the special intensive revision was done in guidelines with the Supreme Court and a 2003 law, which basically said that any deletions, and those deletions must be done of people who have died or changed address or any kind of bogus voting. Having said that, that is not the reason this government has won. If we go back in time, the BJP had just 3 MLAs. In 2021, had just 77 MLAs. And now 2026, 207 is a referendum of sorts. People in West Bengal were fed up of the lawlessness that Mamata Banerjee and her government showed time and again, whether it's women's security, the Sandesh Khali case, the car case, where women were just looked at as if, that there was no great threat to them. But the fact is that security for women was a big issue. And that's why you had the RG car victim's mother win this election too. So the women came consolidated and voted for the BJP. BJP took a tough stand when it came to infiltrators and Bangladeshis and Rohingyas who were trying to destabilize West Bengal. I think people accepted that too and wanted to come out in big numbers, because otherwise, how do you justify a 93% voter turnout? This is unreal. And the Election Commission has only done its job. So the TMC can keep crying foul and saying that, there was foul play. But actually, the reality is it was a referendum. It was a referendum for Prime Minister Modi. It was a referendum for good work. It was a referendum to say done with this law and order situation. It was a referendum to say we want to see women safe and secure in West Bengal. And it was a referendum for development. So people can keep trying to target the Election Commission, talk about EVM tampering. When they win in a state like Kerala, they very well say that everything was hunky-dory and fine. And in West Bengal, where they lose, they say that, there was some problem with the democratic processes. I mean, come on, get real. We are a vibrant democracy. And as they say in Hindi, Jo jeeta wohi Sikandar. That means whoever wins is the victor.
Yogendra, Shaina there was saying that this is a referendum. I want to get your thoughts. How do you feel about that? And also, what does all this mean for the opposition in India? How much does this impact them? And is this essentially a moment of reckoning for the opposition?
Indeed, it is a moment of reckoning, but I would underline what Shaina said. It is historic and it is unbelievable. It is unbelievable for several reasons. And it is not that people have started questioning some of the things here only after the verdict came out. The fact is that for the last 6 months, this ongoing deletion of voters has been a major issue, which has been flagged by all civil society organizations, all parties, has gone to the Supreme Court. And as your report pointed out, 9 million names have been deleted. Shaina said they have been deleted because they are absent or dead, etc. But Shaina, even by official admission, this accounts only for 5.8 million. The remaining 3.3 million, and even within that, 2.7 million names have been removed of people who filled a form, who gave their documents, went for hearing, offered their birth certificate, in many cases offered the passport of India, and yet they were thrown out. This is unprecedented. This is, yes, if you wish to call it historic, yes, it is historic. And that unfortunately casts a cloud. There is no doubt that such a major victory could not have happened unless there were issues with the incumbency of the government. Yes, corruption was an issue. Yes, there was popular disaffection. Yes, there were developmental issues. The real question is, was this only that? Was it only a referendum? Or in this match, the outcome of the match that we see, the umpire played a role. I'm sad to say so. But unfortunately, in India, the Independent Election Commission, which has had its glorious days in India, for the last few years, especially in the last few months, the umpire looks very much like a player. And it's not just after the outcome. When the TMC, the ruling party's delegation, the local ruling party, Trinamool Congress delegation, went to the election commission, they were thrown out. The election commission officially writes letters, goes on social media as if it's a party in the dispute. Thousands of people are deputed from central government in that state, which is unprecedented. The election commission puts observers in a number which is unprecedented. The election commission deletes these names. So the entire exercise has been marred, number one, by this extraordinary measures that were taken place, which put a question mark. And secondly, the entire exercise was also marred by the fact that the campaign was very, very vicious and communal campaign. The leader of BJP that you showed in your report, Mr. Suvendu Adhikari, he's not a marginal leader. He's not a fringe leader. He is the leader and tipped to be the chief minister of the state. Did you hear his language? It's a victory of the Hindus. The entire campaign has been run in ways which is not only vicious, which is not only immoral, it is strictly illegal. How can in a democracy you can run a campaign by naming a community? And this was just a tiny sample that we saw. This is such a vicious, communal, targeted campaign against Muslims. So yes, if you wish to call it historic, that it would be historic, but that's only one way of naming it. It has serious implications. To come back to your question, Mohammed, it has serious implications for the opposition.
Yogendra, just I want to get a question to Javed first. Obviously,
Can I just interject?
Shaina, I'll come back to you in just a minute because I haven't been able to ask Javed a question yet. We'll ask him a question, then I'll come back to you so you can respond to Yogendra, and then we'll get back to Yogendra with the point you wanted to make. Javed, let me ask you, West Bengal is a state that was governed for decades by the opposition. The BJP's triumph there in the elections is seen as a turning point in a state long considered to be a beacon of secularism. From your vantage point, what does all this mean?
Well, it consolidates the stranglehold that the BJP already has over India. The BJP's footprint is now at an unprecedented all-time high. I'm not so sure if there was ever any party which held this kind of political sway across the country, even perhaps maybe Indira Gandhi for a short while, but that's another story. That's a distant story now. So now this is an existential question for India's opposition parties. While it's good for the likes of Shaina NC, who I deeply respect, because her ideological fellow travelers have now won this handsome victory. But the fact is that I'm not so sure if this is any good news for the country at large and for India's minorities, because this deliberate targeting of India's minorities has gone about unchecked, and it defeats the very nature of a democratic parliamentary election when it becomes majority versus minority. It's just not a level playing field. And what we did see this time was that those who were supposed to act as neutral umpires, those who were supposed to implement the checks and balances, turned a deaf ear. They were not just neutral. At times, they appeared to be batting on the side of the government. I have, having covered politics for over 40 years, I have known election commissions that were both impartial, they were neutral, and they were very strict in enforcing the law. Those were elections commissions that we could be proud of. I'm sorry to say the conduct of the present election commission leaves a lot to be desired.
Shaina, I know you want to jump in. Please go ahead.
So firstly, the Prime Minister in his core message, did highlight that the elections were completely democratic to start with. peaceful and fair. In a state like West Bengal, where you've had booth capturing in the past, this was a fair, peaceful election. There was no wrongdoing. And the mandate clearly reflects the people's will. It is not manipulation. You cannot manipulate 93% of the electorate to come out and vote. And it was not just in West Bengal. If you see Puducherry, where there was 89.87%, or Tamil Nadu, where there was 85% people coming out to vote, or for that matter, even Kerala. I just want to ask all the critics of the Election Commission, when the Congress wins in Kerala, which is another state which went to polls with West Bengal, were the EVMs different there? Was this kind of a conspiracy theory that people are spreading that, oh, the Election Commission did not do its job? In a democracy, there is victory and there is defeat. For 15 years, you have had Mamata Banerjee, and here the Congress has been decimated. In a state like West Bengal, where they did have some kind of influence and impact, or even Assam, they have been decimated. But in a state like Kerala, they have won. So this is the beauty of a vibrant democracy. And please understand, the SIR has only been an implementation to clean up the electoral rolls, where there are bogus voters, where there are duplicate names, where there are people who have died, where there are people who have relocated. All of that needs to be a process in guidelines with the Honorable Supreme Court 2003. I mean, we all know that this is a process to ensure that in a democracy such as ours, there is no bogus voting, there are no infiltrators. And I think we need to applaud the Election Commission for doing its job. Wherever there have been, random checks on the EVMs and the VVPAT, there have been 25,000 such cases, Javed, and they weren't able to find one mismatch. I think that we can continue to have our own apprehension vis-a-vis this kind of a mandate. As an Indian, yes, everyone wants to have more opposition. This is a heady kind of success for the BJP and for the Prime Minister. But having said that, this is also a referendum because it is the vote and the mandate of the people of India.
Javed, I know you want to jump in. I just want to give the floor back to Yogendra because we interrupted him earlier. You were trying to make another point, so please go ahead, Yogendra.
Before I make that general point, can I just say that Shaina assumes that Javed and I are objected to EVMs, the electronic voting machines that are used here. So far, we had actually not questioned that. The only thing we had questioned very clearly was this exercise of so-called pruning of voters' lists. Yes, this has happened all over the country, but Shaina, as you would know, West Bengal is the only state in India where additional 2.7 million names have been deleted of people who submitted the forms, who had even given, some of them had given their passports, and they were denied voting. That is what everyone is concerned about. 2.7 million is not a small number because BJP's overall lead over TMC is actually about 3 million. So that's what we are questioning. The larger point that I wanted to make was about the state of the opposition. Over the last few years, the quality of electoral integrity in India, which used to be very, very high, and I used to lecture all over the world about how India's electoral integrity could be a model for the rest of the world to learn from, it has been going down. And the larger question that the opposition faces today is whether after the Bengal election, has it fallen below the minimum threshold of electoral integrity? Because what we have witnessed is the very pointed communal campaign of hatred, not just polarization, it's absolute downright hatred, which is criminal in the state of Assam, which also went to polls, which Shaina mentioned. The would-be chief minister and the sitting chief minister actually said, yes, I want these Muslims to leave the state. I know legally I can't throw them out. So I will make life so miserable for them that they have to leave. This is part of the election campaign. So that's one. Number two is this deletion of votes in a very large way. And third is something we have not mentioned so far, namely, the American practice of gerrymandering has entered India for the first time in its history. This is what happened in Assam. These three things now would force the opposition to wonder whether Indian elections have fallen below the minimum threshold of integrity. And that's a very big existential question which is being raised. As an Indian, I feel ashamed. As an Indian, I feel very sad that we have to even raise these questions, which were unthinkable about 10, 15 years ago. Elections were not ideal, but we never fell to such levels. That is a bigger question, and that's a moment of reckoning that we face today.
Javed, let me ask you to pick up a little bit on what Yogendra was saying there. Where do you see things right now for the opposition in India? And also, I know you wanted to make a point earlier, so please go ahead with that as well.
Well, the opposition, as things stand today, has a mountain to climb. They need to get their act together. They need to go back to the drawing board and come out with an alternative vision, an alternative model of governance. Opposition governments so far have not. It's not. Goals and populism alone is not enough. There has to be something more substantive. Just criticizing the BJP is not enough. There has to be, you need to come up with stuff on how you will do it better and how you will do it differently. Of course, there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that there is elections in India are no longer a level playing field. You are not just fighting the BJP, which in itself is, it has a ruthless election machinery, a very well-organized party cadre, and they have a charismatic leader in the Prime Minister. But apart from that, you have to face the wrath of the opposition, has to face the wrath of all the government agencies, the income tax, the enforcement directorate, etc. Can China just point out how many people from her party were brought in for questioning? 4 days ago, a member of the Rajya Sabha belonging to the opposition Aam Aadmi Party was raided by the enforcement directorate. 2 days later, he crosses over and joins the government, joins the BJP, and we have heard nothing about it. I can spend the next half hour giving you examples of people who were targeted when they were in the opposition and who have now been allowed to go scot-free, or nothing is heard of the investigations against them ever since they joined the BJP. So this is a reality you can't shut your eyes to. Of course, the opposition has a lot of soul searching to do, or there are shortcomings in the opposition ranks. But the fact is, side by side, that it is no longer a level playing field. There was no redressal. SIR was conducted on the eve of elections, and there are still tribunals which are yet to adjudicate on the veracity of the claims being made. What happens tomorrow if even 50% of those whose names have been deleted are found valid, kosher, and they are brought back onto the electoral rolls? What happens? Would their votes could possibly have made a difference between victory and defeat? Who will answer for that kind of thing?
Shaina, I just need to be mindful of time. We only have a few minutes left. I want to ask you about the fact that this vote was also marred by some violence, that both major parties traded blame for attacks on their offices and supporters. How concerned are you at this point in time that there could be more violence going forward?
Well, I think that Mamata Banerjee is an absolute desperate leader. She wouldn't want to leave 1 hour of what is left of her being the Chief Minister of West Bengal. One also knows that she has chosen not to resign, despite the fact that the the Election Commission is going to give the final gazette to the governor, and the governor is going to give the gazette to her, and she will have to resign. So please understand, the beauty of democracy and a country like India is that you will still have a Kerala, which is Congress, or you will still have a Punjab, which is a defunct Aam Aadmi Party, or a Karnataka or a Telangana, which is with the Congress Party, and the rest of India, or Bharat, that has chosen the NDA and the BJP. So I think that is an intelligent choice that the voter makes. We cannot, dismiss a mandate, or for that matter, not acknowledge or introspect why it's happened such. So that being number one. Number two, when we talk about violence, this is the same Mamata Banerjee who has been so desperate that they have called the Prime Minister all kinds of names, as has the Congress Party. I'm not going to get into that because I think that would be belittling the position of the Honorable Prime Minister. But the Prime Minister only rises like a phoenix. Every time you bombard all these kind of abuses at him, he comes out even more victorious because people have full faith. And today is the politics of performance. Yes, things have changed. People are not voting on caste, creed, community. You have so many Muslims who have voted for the BJP in West Bengal or in Assam for that matter. And I just want to say that the SIR is a normal process. People can constantly question whether it's the Election Commission, EVMs, the central forces say that, law and order is a situation at time of elections.
Shaina,
but this has been the most peaceful election we have seen in 2026.
I'm sorry to interrupt. It's just we are running low on time. I want to get back to Yogendra. We only have a couple of minutes left. I want to ask you about the polarization that has been playing out in India. How polarized was this election, and how concerned are you about further polarization going forward and what that means?
That's a real concern. When China says Muslims voted for BJP in Bengal and in Assam, I would just remind you that this party, Bharatiya Janata Party, did not field one single Muslim candidate, either in Bengal or in Assam, in states where Muslim population varies from 27 to 35%. So you have 1/3 of your electorate is Muslim, and you do not field one single candidate. And then you have the gumption to come and say, we represent Muslims, Muslims vote for us. What kind of a world are we living in? To my mind, the situation is extremely serious. And what the post-poll violence that we have seen may unfortunately be only a small window of things to come. Because the kind of extreme communal polarization that this election has seen may well be translated into state policy if the leader is the one that you saw in the report. And remember, these are states on the border of Bangladesh. So yes, I do fear that the communal polarization would go further. And this could turn into a situation in this border area, which is very, very sensitive. So I must confess, I do fear for the future in West Bengal in particular.
All right, well, we're going to have to leave the conversation there because we've run out of time. But I want to thank our guests very much, Javed Ansari, Yogendra Yadav, and Shaina NC. And thank you, too, for watching. You can see the program again anytime by visiting our website. That's aljazeera.com. And for further discussion, go to our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/AJ Inside Story. You can also join the conversation on X. Our handle is @AJ Inside Story. That's it from me, Mohammed Jamjoom, and the whole team here. Al Jazeera's coverage continues in just a moment. Stay tuned.